Welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Angela Ning, the General Manager of IAE London office. IAE Global is a leading provider of the international student recruitment. So today we are going to present the LPC and SQE with the University of Law. And it's our pleasure to have some key staffs here. We have Catherine here. We have Ron here. They will be joining our Q&A section later. And also we are waiting for Matthew Nash, the academic tutor from the University of Law as well. He will be with us in any minute. That's our contact details. Well, just a little more briefly introduction about our company. And IAE Global actually have 29 years history. And we are becoming one of the largest and the most diverse student recruitment organizations in the world. We also have more than 60 offices around the world. Here is our London office contact details. So please feel free to contact us after this webinar. Right, I think, Matthew, you are here, right?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Right, so I will pass the host to you and please just carry on the presentation.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Matthew Nash and I am a tutor at the London Bloomsbury campus. There are actually two campuses in London, one basically in the heart of the West End, which is the sort of main area of London where the tourists go, and that's Moorgate, and then there's another one in the heart of the city, which is Bloomsbury, and then there's one in the heart of the city, which is Moorgate. I'm here to obviously speak to you today about the SQE and the LPC. As you probably know, there is a change going on at the moment between the legal practice course and the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. And there is a transition going on, and there are two routes to qualification. Just sorry, having the joys of doing the internet just a moment. So quick. But as you probably been already introduced to the university, the university is one of the largest legal providers in the UK and indeed throughout the world. As you probably been told, the university has 14 campuses, including one in Hong Kong. It's existed since 1876. And it's since 1876, it's broadly been really a sort of stalwart of legal education. It has trained more lawyers in the UK than anywhere else, including solicitors and barristers. It also has a long tradition of working with pro bono and other organisations to provide assistance. And one of the things that is very important within the university is to provide students with career opportunities. So, for example, in the Bloomsbury campus, there is a very large office with a number of people working there whose only job effectively is to make sure that people who go to the university have jobs afterwards. It also has a large number of alumni. It has people who have qualified with the University of Law and throughout the world. When you may have seen when you saw the little picture before, you would have seen in the middle of the various pictures of the various alumni, Sadiq Khan, who's Mayor of London. He is he is an alumnus from the University of Law. So it has a big group, and the idea is also to make sure that there is a connection between students who have been to the University of Law with other students in the future. So one of the other important factors within the university is the fact that we work with 90 of the top 100 law firms within England and Wales. There are certain city law firms who have their trainees work exclusively with us, so they actually train with the university. That is who they insist they insist that their trainees do their legal practice course with us, and those consist of some of the largest law firms in London and throughout the country as well. We also work with international firms as well to make sure that their trainees are ready to start in practice. Now, at the moment, and this is hopefully, I'll try and make this not too complicated to you, for you, but at the moment, there are effectively 2 routes to practice, and then the practice splits off into whether you want to be a solicitor or a barrister. So at the moment, this is the effectively the options that you have. One is the legal practice course, which is if you want to become a solicitor. In order to do that, you must take either a law degree or a degree with a conversion, which allows the degree effectively to become a law degree. There is then the vocational stage. That's the legal practice course that is currently in place for a solicitor, or the bar practice course if you want to be a barrister. There is then some training for solicitors, and this will remain the same even with the new SQE. There are 2 years that you have to train, and for a barrister in England and Wales, it's a year. So that's the way it currently is. And as you can see, you have to decide after you've taken your law degree or your conversion which profession you want to join. Because if you want to become a solicitor, you must take the legal practice course, as I've said. If you want to be a barrister, you have to take the bar practice course. And there you can see there's 2 years of training to be a solicitor and 1 year, which is called pupillage, to become a barrister. Now, in order to be able to take the legal practice course or the bar practice course, you either have had to have done a bachelor's in law, or you can also do the GDL, or the graduate diploma in law. And for that, you require a degree of at least a lower second. And it allows you to then go on to the legal practice course or the bar practice course. It's called a level 6, which basically means it's at the bachelor's degree level. So it's the same level as the LLB or same level as another degree course. Alternatively, you can take the Masters of Arts in Law. This is a more prestigious, I suppose, route, because it is a level 7. So as the name suggests, it's a master's level, not a bachelor's level. Therefore, it requires normally a degree of an upper second. And there are there's a similar amount of study with the Masters of Arts in Law. But that also allows you to do the legal practice course or the bar practice course. The advantage of the MA Law is that it is a standalone qualification. You then have a master's, as you would any other master's, so you can have an MA after your name, and it is obviously a more prestigious qualification. But there are those 2 particular routes. So what would you study within the law conversion course? Well, there are some requirements at the moment. The solicitors and the barristers regulatory bodies require you to do. They consist of equity and trust, which are basically wills, criminal law, public law, that's obviously administration, constitutional, land, that's property, tort, the law of wrongs, law of obligations, contract, and currently, even though post-Brexit, obviously the European Union is extremely important to the UK, and so European Union law is also required. So, looking at our legal practice courses, you will see in the bottom right-hand corner the impressive, we would say, statistics of 97% of legal practice course students securing further employment or further study or once they leave the university. And as far as the bar practice course, about 58% securing privileges, which is pupillage, which is very high. Pupillage is notoriously difficult to obtain, and it is one of the highest statistics and highest rated courses in order to secure a pupillage. So, as far as the legal practice course is concerned, so we've covered, albeit briefly, how you get on to do the legal practice course. That will be either to take an LLB, a GDL, or a master's in an MA in law. But then you need to, the current position is you need to take the legal practice course. Now, we have 3 ways you can take the legal practice course. You can just do normal legal practice course, which includes the core modules we've just seen, and 3 electives. So 3 options that you decide that you want to undertake, that hopefully will assist you when you become a lawyer. The other options, once again, in order to make it you more marketable and to give you a master's if that's what you wanted to do. So if you hadn't done a master's when you were doing your GDL, you can do a master's at this stage, and you can do that in business and management if you want to take an MSc, which is a master's in science, and that is basically the same as the LPC, but you also do a law and business module as well. You do a business case study report, and there you've got your little hat and it says free masters, so you get your masters as well for doing very little extra. Then, or you can do the LPC LLM. So LLM means Masters in Laws rather than an MA. Once again, this is quite flexible. You do an extra elective in law, and that also gives you a master's as well. So these are very popular because obviously once you are studying the legal practice course, you might as well, that's my view, you might as well do the master's at the same time. You have to do a little bit extra, you have to do a report, but once you do that, you can put MSc or LLM after your name and you have a master's. So looking at our particular electives, what are the particular options that there are? So there are, we try to put people down certain routes because certain people will go into certain different types of firm. One is the private client route, which is the sort of route where if you like, the sort of general practitioner route, the sort of thing that you would deal with a private client, a normal person, everyday person who comes in and asks for your advice. So of course, what would that consist of? Well, family law, clearly. Personal injury and clinical negligence, I think, speak for themselves. Immigration, very common, obviously. It's a very interesting and growing area of practice, immigration into the UK. Advanced criminal practice, so you will have already learned some criminal law on the as part of your LPC, but this gives you a bit more information if that's the route you want to go down. And other private client matters, which would be to do with possibly estate planning and other private issues that an individual might have. Then, of course, there's the commercial route where you're dealing with organizations, companies, and their needs rather than individuals. And there you have commercial dispute resolution, as you probably know. Much of disputes that happen within the commercial sphere are resolved by mediation rather than going to the courts because of the costs, etc. There's also insurance to make sure that clearly the businesses are protected against any particular liability they may have. Competition law to make sure that they are not creating monopolies or they're not competing unfairly within the marketplace. Advanced real estate, clearly most businesses own real estate, rent real estate, or possibly are actually involved in the business of being real estate companies. Commercial law, the actual setting up of companies and how the companies work within the legal environment. Intellectual property, very big topic at the moment. So the rights, obviously, of various companies to protect their own brands and their own patents. And employment law. Clearly, companies employ people, so they have to make sure that their employees are treated properly and that they make sure that they don't have liability if there are any problems with their employees. So then we get on to the corporate route, which is particularly to do with bigger companies and their financial needs, and in particular companies such as banks. So you then get on to banking and debt finance. Big, obviously, area, mergers and acquisitions, very high profile, with companies taking over each other and the companies possibly even demerging and acquiring other companies, and dealing with public companies or PLCs, so things like flotations on the stock exchange, etc. And obviously, one of the campuses in London, which I've just mentioned, which is Moorgate, they are particularly interested in this area because they're so close to the City of London, which is where, obviously, this is one of the major hubs in the world for this type of work. Now, at the moment, I hope you can see, just one moment, see, right. Sorry, I was just checking on the chat. At the moment, you can see that what we've already said. So if you look at the top third, basically, at the moment, to become a solicitor, you need to do the LPC. So you need to have shown that you have sufficient knowledge of law in order to then do the LPC and then take what's called a training contract or a 2-year on-the-job training in order to become a solicitor. However, this is all changing as of this year. There's going to be some overlap between the LPC and the new qualification, which is called the SQE, or the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. And as you can see, it's more complicated, but it's also more flexible. So there's many other things that you can do. So you can still do the Masters in Law, Master of Arts in Law. You can still do your, you can still learn about the English legal system, etc. But you can also simply go and do what's called the SQE1. Now, the SQE1 is basically the sort of basics of law. It's based on something called FLK, or the Foundation of Legal Knowledge, and it basically tests you about how your understanding of English legal principles. So that will be things like criminal, contract, tort, etc., but also on procedure. So it will contain things like civil procedure, criminal procedure, wills and probate, things like that. Now, once that has been passed, you then take the SQE2. Now, the SQE2 is the practical part of it. Okay, so on the SQE2, you will have to draft legal documents, and there will be an element of advocacy as well. So there will be maybe applications to be made that will be recorded, and there's also an interviewing module as well. So you'll be taught and you will be tested on how to interview clients, how to take instructions from clients. So the idea of it is to be more practical. As you will see, though, there is still a requirement of what they call QWE, which is a qualifying work experience. So it's not a training contract anymore. It is that you must work within the legal field. That can be pro bono, that could be working, it doesn't have to be as strict, it can be working in any sort of legal field for 2 years, and then that allows you to take the SQE2. And once you've taken the SQE1 and the SQE2 and you've had your qualifying work experience, then you become a solicitor. So the university clearly has now and has created SQE courses. We've already covered the postgraduate diploma in law, the MA law conversion, but now there's also the MA, the Master of Law, which allows you, sorry, to take the SQE1. That's the legal knowledge bit of the Solicitors Qualifying Exam, but that also gives you a master's as well. There's this thing called the Solicitors Qualifying Exam Law Essentials, which basically is the bare minimum we would suggest that you need in order to pass the SQE1. So it is a short course, somewhat cheaper course, but it basically allows you to hopefully pass the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. There are also new courses of the Masters, which is the Masters in Legal Practice, which covers you for the SQE1 and the SQE2, because of course you need both in order to become a solicitor. There are also short preparation courses for both the SQE1 and the SQE2, and there are exam preparation courses to make sure that you are ready for the exam, so that you don't go into the exam without really understanding what you're letting yourself in for. So the question is, now that you have these new routes, which I think it would be fair to say are relatively complicated, which is the best route for you? The situation at the moment is, as far as a law conversion is concerned, or postgraduate diploma in law, the idea with this is it gives you the key intellectual progress skills to enable you to progress to the Solicitors Qualifying Exam or the bar practice course. Now, you should be reminded if you do want to go down the bar course, you will have to have either a postgraduate diploma in law, a law degree, or an MA or a law master's. So it allows you to study the core legal modules, skills and behaviours. So hopefully will get you to learn to act like a lawyer and be prepared. And once again, and I've already stated this for the MA law, of course, you have a master's. And in this very competitive market, having a master's, being able to say to an employer, yes, I've actually studied this, and yes, I studied it to a master's level. So it may well be the thing that may potentially get you the job that you want. It also allows you to do other additional optional modules, which may be subjects that your future employer is interested in. So we say that this is an ideal foundation for students who want legal fundamentals, but also enhanced skills and knowledge to demonstrate to employers. So if you've got your MA in law or you've got your PGDL, employers will know what standard that you're at. So the other option is the MA in law with the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. You still obviously study legal modules, skills and behaviour. It effectively gets you ready for the SQE1, so all the academic knowledge that's needed for the SQE1, so that you can pass that. It doesn't include the enhanced academic modules. It is a more stripped down course, but obviously the easier for that, but it is something that will prepare you and get you through the exam. It says best suited to students who want a master's level qualification while progressing quickly to the SQE1. So faster route. The SQE Essentials, which Law Essentials, which is sometimes called SQELE, SQELE. This is an online short course, so you introduction to legal knowledge required for the SQE1. So this is really the stripped down bare to get you through the exam. If you're more interested in actually getting to the exam, cost obviously important, and also speed as well. You learn all the essentials, so the 7 subjects, the main subjects that the SQE 1 will test, and there is online support as well, including from experienced tutors. So this is aimed at students who want to progress quickly to the SQE exams, who basically can't wait and may have some more legal knowledge already. So may have done a law degree or perhaps worked in the legal field for some period of time. So these are the different qualifications, as you can see. Now, one of the things that you'll notice immediately is that the masters, obviously the credits are far higher. So they're 3 times as many as for the SQE 1 course and the SQE 2. And that's because in order to have masters, you must have 180 credits. And clearly you have the masters as well.
Sorry,
now,
Matthew.
Yes.
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes.
As you are the host, can you see there are some students waiting in the participants room?
Right, I see.
If you don't mind, please
waiting
let
room.
them in.
Yes, I will omit all. So I apologise. Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't realise that I was the host. Thank you very much. Yeah, hopefully they'll all come in now. So sorry if you've been waiting, people. I'm afraid because I've taken over as the host. There was some delays in the meeting, so I apologise for that. Thank you. Sorry, and to everybody else, we're just going through the various qualifications that are available. As you can see on the law graduates grid, you've got the various courses that you can take. There's the master's courses, there's the SQE courses, and you can see that you have obviously the more in-depth courses, the LLM legal practice, which includes the SQE 1 and 2, but also an additional 60 units that allows you then to have a master's, and it basically is the complete package, if you like, the LLM, but you can take the SQE 1 and the SQE 2 separately should you so wish. So yes, as far as the LLM legal practice course, this is to make sure that you can pass both parts of the SQE, and it is there to focus on key practice areas and skills desired by firms. There is what we call a learning journey, which means that you can see where you are, where you come from, where you're going to, so you can actually see the progress that you are obtaining, and it is designed so that when you start your legal career, that you're ready, that you are actually prepared for it. So it really does focus on your legal career. So as far as all courses at the University of Law are concerned, there's, as I've already mentioned, there's career support as soon as you take place. There are there are people at the University of Law whose only job is to make sure that you have a career when you leave the university. Tutorial support with qualified lawyers with practical experience. For example, for myself, I'm a criminal practitioner. I've been doing worked in crime for 20 years, and most of my colleagues have practiced or are still in practice and are all very experienced. There are various, obviously, flexible study options. There's online, there are weekend and evening courses as well. There is work that you can do, learning skills that you can do. You can work using your mobile phone, and we are experienced because the SQE is actually an MCQ exam, or multiple choice questioning exam. This is something that we've had experience with both on the LPC and in particular on the bar practice course, because a lot of the bar practice course, strangely, is actually multiple choice questions. And there's a dynamic learning model that it goes across. There are online materials, there are materials that you can use face to face, So there are many different materials that you can use. There's an app, so there's lots of ways that you can access the university's library, and also course materials. So it's a state-of-the-art learning technology. We have an access to, so we say a tool called Elite, which is a state-of-the-art sort of teaching material. We also have something called Collaborate, which is effectively like Zoom, but it is specifically tailored for the educational environment. You also have a personal tutor, who is somebody like myself, who has experience, who has been a solicitor or a barrister, or has had lengthy experience within the legal system, and who will also be able to help you if anything, you have any problems at all. So, as you can see, a little picture of a mobile phone there, and it says our intelligent revision app provides basic tests and feedback. So yes, that's launched. There's also an app called my ULaw app, which helps you with even things like there's even a meditation bit. There's access to your timetable and all sorts of things that allow you to have contact with the university directly from your mobile phone. So also within the Solicitors Qualifying Exam, what we've done is we've set up a virtual law firm, which is basically explaining and showing you how a law firm works. So within the university, there's a thing called the ULaw LLP, or ULaw limited liability partnership. So basically showing you, as you're learning, how it would actually work in practice. So you will see memos, and you will be given tasks that are as close as possible to what you would expect on day one of joining any law firm, either as a trainee solicitor, or as a paralegal, or as somebody who is due to become a solicitor in due course. So it says here, obviously, perform simulated tasks as if you're in the office. So it will be something that looks and feels just like if you were working for an actual law firm. So as far as the learning style is concerned, the way that the university works is, first of all, we obviously tutor interaction. The university is very committed to having you have as much interaction with your tutor as possible. There's also 3 stages of what you call the learning journey. So first of all, preparation, which is often done on your own, but it can be done with other students, or potentially with tutors as well. But it basically prepares you for the actual task that you're about to do. Then there's the engage, where you actually get to show that you understand and that you can actually practice the skill that you have obtained through prepare. And then there's a consolidation, which basically makes sure that you have covered everything within prepare and engage, so that you can feel confident that you have actually mastered the skill and you're ready to move on. So benefits of current route, which should I choose? And as I said, at the moment, there are these 2 routes that will exist in tandem for a little while at least. Now, the LPC route is the one that actually exists at the moment, although the SQE is coming in very, very quickly. It's tried and tested, so if you want to go and work for a law firm, especially a traditional law firm, they know exactly what the legal practice course is, although clearly they will have to know in due course about the SQE. There are lots of places that will actually supply you or will sponsor you with fees and funding throughout your course. And as far as the LPC is concerned, there are electives, and it's quite an in-depth course. Often, because law firms are aware of the course, they will be, maybe at the moment, they will find that more preferable. Sorry. So, but what are the benefits of the SQE? Well, there may be more opportunities at the moment, because the idea of the SQE is to make it simpler and easier and more flexible for people to join law firms. It is a situation where For example, it's turned from a training contract to qualified work experience. There aren't the same requirements that there are under the LPC. There aren't the same number of electives. There is, as I said, it was more flexible and therefore maybe cheaper. And it is what will be required in a few years when the LPC actually does disappear. So, just to sort of repeat what I've said, many law firms are likely to want all their trainees to qualify under the same route. So it may be that if you've got a particular law firm who are sponsoring you, who you want to go and work for, you may want to speak to them first. There are obviously enhanced SQE preparation courses. So the SQE is quite pared back, but there are other courses you've heard that will enhance your experience and your knowledge, so that you're better ready to start at a law firm. And ultimately, it is obviously your decision, and all the university wants to do is to provide you with the various options so you can make the right one for yourself. So once again, we're talking about employability, and we come back to that. You can see that there is one-to-one careers advice. There are talks by employers, by law firms. We also attend national and local law fairs. The employability service also helps you create your own CV or resume so that you are ready to apply for jobs. There are a list of jobs as well, so that you can go and have a look. And then there are employers who actually advertise through the university. And there is other work experience that allows you then, that the university provides, which then allows you to experience that, put it on your CV, and hopefully that will then also lead you to a position. So there you go. As far as the sort of contacts are concerned, this is about the University of Law. You've got the various social media accounts. So you've got Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and of course the hashtag as well. And you can find out more on the website. And that is the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. So any questions so far? And we are also live in the Facebook. If you got any questions, please just type them in just follow our Facebook and then type your questions in. So by the way, Matthew, actually I am doing some law courses before. And
all right.
Yeah, so I didn't do the LPC. I was trying to do the BAC, and I saw in your presentation you was mentioned the LPC graduation rate or successful rate is 97%, while the BAC is only 58. Yes. Right. So why is this reason, and why the BAC is that difficult?
Well, it's not the pass rate. Maybe I made it a little bit unclear. What it is actually getting pupillage. So more people do pass the BPC. It's not 58%. I have to admit, because I teach on the BPC. I would say it's probably 80 to 90% pass. It's not really a stumbling block, but the number of people who actually get pupillage, so go on to do the bar from the bar course to actually do pupillage, about 58%. Now that is actually very high, because there are only about probably 400 or so pupillages in the whole of the UK every year, and there are other providers. I would suggest that other providers, I don't know what their percentage rate is. I would imagine that most of them are lower. But that does not mean that if you do the bar course, couldn't find a pupillage, he then became a solicitor and he now runs a law firm. So this does not mean that, just if you do the BPC and you don't get pupillage, that you've got no other options. There are many other options. I've also had a friend who joined the government legal service. She did the bar course and then joined the government legal service, and she's now a lawyer within the government. So 58% of those who actually go on to do a pupillage, but I would suggest that probably 3/4 of the remaining people going into something else, become legal clerks, join the government legal service, join from the criminal part, join the Crown Prosecution Service. So it is, you know, it is just simply that's the figure for the barristers, because unfortunately there are more solicitors than there are barristers. But yeah, that's not me. There's not 42% favourable. So yes, you can.
So for the new SQE, I think that will be happen, I think this year, at the end of this year. And so is it the SQE student, they still need to do the practical, I mean, training contract before they become qualified?
No, what it is, it's sort of on the job training. So the idea is to be flexible. So what happens with the SQE is you can take the SQE1 whenever you want, basically. And the SQE1, you have to have a degree, but you do not have to have a law degree. So basically the idea is it's just an exam, and it's a sort of pass-fail exam, and if you pass it, then you can move on to SQE2. Now, once you've done SQE1 and whilst you're waiting to do SQE2, then they expect you to do some sort of work experience, but the work experience is a lot more flexible than it would be within the training contract. You do not have to have an official training contract. You can, say, for example, work 6 months in one sort of firm, work 6 months in, say, a legal centre, work 6 months in something doing pro bono work. You can do voluntary work. You can do anything as long as it is legal experience. So you do not have to, say, for example, I've got a trainee who's now qualified, funnily enough, went to the University of Law, and she did the legal practice course with the University of Law, and she's got a training contract, and part of the training contract she has to do X, Y, and Z. That's not going to exist anymore. As long as she works for a law firm or does something legal, some sort of legal experience, that will count. So that's the idea.
Right.
So you still have to have some legal experience, but it's not.
So how many, because you was mentioned about it, the SQE one is mainly multiple choice questions, right? Mm-hmm. So do you know how many of them, and then what is the pass mark?
Right. It's 180, and we don't know because it's never been done before. And the reason we don't know is not because I don't know, it's because they haven't said. So they don't know what the pass mark is.
Okay.
That's it. That's the Solicitors Regulation. They're a regulation authority. That's what they've decided. They don't know. I mean, the idea of it is not to fail people. It's not one of these exams where they've got to fail 10% or 20% or whatever. The idea is that if you've reached a certain level, then you should pass it. But because it's never actually been officially done yet, it's difficult to say how many people will actually pass it. Going back to my colleague who did the LPC, she actually did like the SQE. They did a sort of mock, and she elected to do that to sort of see if it worked, and she passed it fine. She thought it was okay, and she didn't seem to have a problem with it. But unfortunately, nobody knows what the actual pass mark is going to be, or the pass rate. So as I said, it's not because I don't know, it's just because they haven't announced it.
So do you think the SQE multiple choice will be ending more year by year? And it's just like driving license, you know, at the first beginning, maybe only 100 questions, but the second year, maybe 150 questions. And then they just join in as many as you can. And then, so that is it will do like that way?
What do you mean? Do you mean, well, I mean, it is like a driving test. I mean, it's a pass fail. Once you passed, you passed. So what it does is I think you're allowed to do it 3 times, as I understand it. You're allowed to do it, but as I said, it is a driving test, and once you've passed SQE one, you're allowed to go on and do SQE 2. SQE 1, as I understand it, the only requirement for doing SQE 1 is you have to have a degree. So I think my understanding is as long as you have a degree that is an English degree or equivalent, they will then let you take the SQE. Obviously, your English has to be good enough to be able to understand the questions. They are, there's going to be a level of comprehension there, but as long as you can comprehend the questions, then I don't see that there's going to be any sort of problem with that. I'm looking at it in comparison to say, because in some ways, because one of the things I used to do as well as I used to teach the US bar, and on the US bar, there's a thing called the MBE, which is a multiple choice exam that 49 out of the 50 states do. And basically, I know people who are French, German who've taken it and they passed it, because as long as they've got the relative qualifications for the particular state, as they've shown that they can understand the English because they've been able to pass the exam. So that's the way it works, really.
Thank you. We got one question here. If I don't have IELTS, university has English test instead?
I believe it does for for some of the courses. I think you have to look at each course individually. So if you wanted to do a course at the university, you would have to say, well, this is the course I want to do, and then whether or not it has any IELTS requirement. I think some of them do and some of them don't. So it's really depending on the sort of course that you want to do ultimately.
Thank you. Let's wait for some more questions.
I just typed in the chat box of the link of which language qualification we accept currently. For language cert, if student receive conditional offer with English as the pending condition, we can request a free token so student can take. It's a purely online test for degree above courses.
Thank you.
The other thing that you should be aware of course, is that for the SQE1, it is all multiple choice. However, for the SQE2, that will require some advocacy. And that will be oral and written. So there will be an exam where the student will be required to present a piece of advocacy in a criminal or civil setting. There will also be client interviewing as well, and there will be a piece of written work, but it will be very practically based. So it won't be an essay as such. It will be something that a lawyer, a solicitor would have in practice. But that's part of the SQE2, not the SQE1. So the SQE1 is purely a multiple choice exam with 5 different options for each question, I think. 5.
But they can only be qualified after the SQE2, right?
That's right, but you can do your on-the-job training whilst you're waiting for the SQE2. So you can, for example, you could work for a law firm whilst you're doing having done your SQE1, and once you've done your SQE2, as soon as you've done your SQE2 and you've had your 2 years qualifying experience, even though that's pre-SQE2, you are then a solicitor.
That's good.
So you can qualify as soon as you've done your SQE2, as long as you've had 2 years at a law firm or done qualifying law experience, then you are a solicitor.
That's really save the time, actually.
Yeah.
There's one question here. Where do the graduates often work for after graduation?
Well, as far as law firms mostly, but they can work for various, as I said, various companies. There's obviously a lot of people who work in-house for various large institutions like banks and oil companies, etc. There are also people who work in government. There are people who work for various government agencies. It depends. It depends on what people enjoy and what jobs there are available. So there's a lot of different people with experience. As I said, you know, most people go and work for law firms, but that is not by any means the only route. Could I ever start to apply? How difficult is it to apply for an visa as well? That's not really, I don't know whether anybody else could help with that. I'm not, I have to admit, I'm not a visa specialist. So how much study per day, per week? It depends on whether you're working, whether you're doing part-time or you're doing it full-time. If you're doing a full-time course, we normally like to say, think of it like a job. So think of it sort of 9 to 5. They normally say about 40 to 45 hours of study per week. It's the best way to do it, really, because otherwise what happens is you end up doing nothing during the day and then you destroy your evenings and weekends. So the idea is, if you're doing a full-time course, then really, yes, you should see it like a job. If you are doing it part-time, it's about half of that. So you're going to be basically taking up a lot of your weekends and your evenings. So normally for part-time, sort of 20 hours per week. So if you think about it, probably 6, so you'll probably be doing 6-7 hours. So you Saturday and Sunday, and then you'll probably be doing 2 to 3 hours in the evening as well. So it's a lot to do if you're working full-time and you're studying part-time, but people do it and they do it successfully.
I think
So,
University of Law, you're also offering the online course. Is it
yes.
for LPC, SQE as well?
Yes, so there's a lot of flexibility there. So if you're obviously, if you're working online, you can do it sort of whenever you want almost. So if you want to, you know, on a Saturday you want to work 6 hours, then that's fine. If you've got a party or something like that, you just put it off and then you do it on another day. So the idea is it to be as flexible as possible. Okay. So you could do it full time and you can do it online. So you could do it sort of 40 hours a week, but that doesn't necessarily have to be 8 hours per day. You could do, you know, 10 hours on one day, 3 on another. So it's really, you know, a matter for you how you want to do it. But I mean, this is unfortunately, it's not something that you can really do only doing a couple of hours a day. It just doesn't really work like that, unfortunately. So you have to do quite a lot of studying, but yes, as I said, you can do it part-time. Part-time is incredibly popular, and we even do the bar course now part-time. So yeah, I mean, it's, and given since the lockdown, a lot of courses have obviously been online, and we've had to do advocacy online, and it's worked out pretty well, actually. A lot better than I would have expected.
Yeah, I got one question here, I think from the Facebook. A student asking how much the tuition fees, and is there any scholarship available?
Yes, well, the tuition fees it really does depend on what you want to do. If you are sort of studying full time, the tuition fees are normally start at about £9,000 a year. It does go up depending on whether you're doing a master's or whether you're doing the LPC. So if you do the master's, obviously you're doing more of the course, so it's going to cost you a bit more. The other big factor is whether you do it online or you do it in class. If you do it online, it can be slightly cheaper. If you are doing it in the UK, it is more expensive to do it in London because of the price of things in London. And it can get up to about 15 to 17,000 if you're in London. If you're outside London, it's normally about 12 or 13,000 pounds. So the best thing to do is see what you're actually interested in and look at the various options. As far as scholarships, yes, there are scholarships. It depends on obviously what you want to do. Various law firms, if various law firms are interested in you, sometimes they'll pay for your tuition and they may even give you a bursary to study. There are scholarships for outstanding students that the university provides. And so, as I said, certain organizations, certain charities also provide scholarships, etc. as well. So really, you just have to look around, and it also depends on the course that you want to do. So, for example, if you wanted to do the bar course, there are scholarships from the Inns of Court and Chambers, and if you want to do the law course, then there are the legal practice course, the SQE. There are ones from law firms and other organisations. So it really depends on what you want to do.
Thank you.
As long as also put up some scholarships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. I think we cover a lot today and it's so informative. And thank you very much, Marcel. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Catherine. And yeah, so thank you everybody for joining today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye
Bye-bye.
for now.